Hi everyone, my name's Sam. I'm a product manager at the Wikimedia Foundation, and I work on a project called the Wikipedia Library. I wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the Wikipedia Library, give you an overview of what it is if you haven't heard of it before, talk through why it might be useful to you, and even if you are aware of the Wikipedia Library, I'm going to give you a bit of an overview of some changes that we're currently making and some big improvements that are coming shortly down the line. So first, what is the Wikipedia Library? Well, if you're a Wikipedia editor and you've been writing an article, doing some research, trying to dig through your sources to find out what information is true and what you can write about in this article, you've probably come across at least one source which is paywalled. You try to open it and it says, here's a short excerpt of this source, but you're going to have to pay a subscription fee or a one-off fee, in this case £30, but maybe it's a yearly subscription fee. For some reason, you can't access that source because you need to pay. And so now you're asking, okay, well, how can I get access to that source? Because maybe it's a really good source. Maybe it's the only source that contains some information that you really need for your article. Well, you've got a few options. You could head down to your local library, physically walk down the street if you happen to have one near you. If you're at a university, maybe you can access it through your university library, or you could just pay for it. But the subscription is expensive. Paying £30 for one PDF seems a bit excessive when maybe you don't even know if you need it yet. And so that's where the Wikipedia Library comes in. We're trying to build a library of these paywall sources so that you can get access for free just because you're a Wikipedia editor. You can get access to them from anywhere in the world. You don't need to go physically to a library. And for a lot of the content, you don't even need to ask. As long as you meet some eligibility criteria, you can head straight in. So I'm going to jump into a bit of a demo here, show you how the library works and what it looks like, some tips for how you can get the best out of the library. And then after that, I'll show you some of the new features that are coming down the road. Okay, so when you open the library for the first time, this is what you're going to see. It's a brief overview of what's in the library, shows off some collections that you might be interested in, and most importantly, shows you the eligibility criteria for accessing the library. So, as much as we would love to make the Wikipedia Library available to every Wikipedia editor, unfortunately, these organizations are giving us free access to their material, and so access is gated to experienced editors only at the moment. Currently, the criteria are set at 500 edits, 6 months of editing, some recent activity, which we record as 10 edits in the last month, and you can't have any active long-term blocks on your account. If you're blocked for a username violation on a wiki you've never edited before, then that's fine, we'll let you through. But if you have a long-term block, for example, for copyright violation, or maybe an indefinite block on a project, then unfortunately you won't be able to access the library. But if you're in good standing and you meet the rest of the criteria, you can come on through. So clicking login will log you in via your Wikipedia account. You don't need to register a new account to use the library. And at the time of recording, this is where you will land when you log in. Now, depending on when you're watching this video, this may be slightly different to what you're seeing. We're currently rolling out some improvements to this interface, but it should look something like this. What you're seeing here is a list of the collections that you have access to, and you can go ahead and access any of the collections in this tab right away. Accessing a collection is as simple as clicking the Access Collection button. So let's say I'm writing an article on a medical topic, and I know that Annual Reviews has some great journals with papers on that topic. If I want to access Annual Reviews, it's as easy as clicking Access Collection. Now, for any collection which says Access Collection at the bottom, the way that you access this is through our proxy server. So you'll get routed through a couple of different URLs, which will eventually land you at your destination. Now, you can make sure you're in the right place on most of these websites by looking for something like this: access provided by Wikipedia. That means the system has recognized that you've come from the Wikipedia library and that you should have access to most, if not all, of the content on this website. So now that I'm on Annual Review's website, it's as simple as typing the subject that I'm interested in and having a search to see if they have anything interesting for me. In this case, they've got a bunch of papers on coronavirus, and I can go ahead and keep doing my research. So by default, you have access to actually quite a lot of content here. You might notice that you only have 20 or 30 collections out of a possible 70 or 80, but these collections that you receive by default actually contain a majority of the content in the library. You have a pretty wide variety of available publishers here, from huge aggregators like Ebsco, through to niche databases on specific topics like engineering or women writers. If you want to narrow the collections you're seeing here, there are some filtering options for you on the left-hand side. You can filter by language, and you can also filter by topic, for example, history. But this isn't all that's available in the library. In addition to these collections that you receive by default, there is a set of other collections which you need to file an application to receive. These are listed in the Available Collections tab, and you can file as many applications as you like. If you scroll through these collections and see something that interests you, just click Apply. Fill out a brief application explaining why you want access to that resource, and one of our coordinators will review it within about a week. Access granted through an application tends to last about a year. It depends exactly on the collection, but if it's one of the collections that's accessed through the proxy, a year is the default and you can tweak exactly how long you want access for. Now, while accessing collections through the proxy is the easiest way, and it's the way that we wish every collection worked, some collections still need to be accessed in a different way. So for some collections that you file an application for, you might find that you receive some login details or an access code, which you then need to go and set up on the website yourself. We're trying to move as many collections as we can over to the proxy-based method of access, but that isn't possible in every case, unfortunately. So that's how you access the content that's currently in the library. But you might be wondering, if I already have a URL that points to one of these websites that's available in the library, what's the quickest way to get to it? If you use this URL and put your link at the end of it, you'll get routed through our proxy server, and if we have access to that content, you'll be able to go straight to it, instead of searching again on that website. So I've been using the library in English, but there are more than 14 languages with full translations available for the library at the time of recording. And so if we haven't picked up your browser language correctly, you can always go up to the profile button, scroll down, and find the languages selector. And there you can change the library into your own language. If it looks like the library isn't fully translated for the language you want to use, just head over to Translate Wiki, where you could go ahead and translate it into your own language. We really encourage you to do that so that the rest of your community can use the library effectively. So the library's collections are always growing. We have more than 75 partnerships now with various organizations to bring you this free access. But if there are other organizations, other collections, databases that are hidden behind a paywall that you want access to that you think should be in the library, just head over to the Suggest page where you can fill in a brief description of what it is that you want us to try and get for you, and then we'll feed this into our prioritization process when we go out to speak to publishers about joining the library. You can also scroll down this list to see if maybe your suggestion is already there and give it an upvote if it is. So that's how the library works today, but we're actually right in the middle of some big technical changes on the library. I mentioned that the interface that you see when you log in may change over the coming weeks since I recorded this video, so I just wanted to give a brief rundown of the improvements that are coming over the next couple of months. In August, we're just tweaking how eligibility works in the library. At the moment, if you don't meet the eligibility criteria, you can still log in to the library and file applications, which we think is a bit confusing. If you're really far below those criteria, we still let you apply, even though you would never be accepted. And so we just want to tighten those requirements a little bit so that the only people who can access the library at all are the ones that meet those criteria. It makes it a lot easier for us to explain to users how the library works, and means our coordinators don't have to spend a bunch of time reviewing applications from folks who don't meet that criteria. Towards the end of August, we'll be integrating Ebsco Discovery Service. Ebsco Discovery Service is a search tool which will allow you to search across all of the library's collections in one place. So instead of needing to go from one collection to the next, doing individual searches, you can just search from one place. And I'm going to give a brief demo of that in just a minute. In September, we're rolling out an echo notification. So at the moment, the library is mostly shared amongst editors by word of mouth. One editor finds it and uses it, they let their friends know, who maybe let their friends know, maybe it gets included on some help pages on the wiki, but this isn't a great way to let everyone know that they can use the library. Most of our users come from the English Wikipedia, now from the French and German Wikipedias as well. But beyond that, really people don't know the library is something that's available to them. So we're rolling out a notification. The notification will go out to anyone who meets that eligibility criteria as soon as they cross the threshold. So if they've already made 500 edits, they'll get the notification after their account reaches 6 months of age. And vice versa, if they already have a 6-month-old account, then as soon as they reach their 500th edit, they'll receive the notification, which simply says, congratulations, you meet the criteria to access the library. Editors will only receive this notification one time, we don't want to spam anyone, just to let you know that that's now available to you in the same way as if you became auto-confirmed or extended confirmed. We really hope that this will get the word out about the library to communities that don't know it exists yet and bring in more contributors who can make great use of the library. We're going to be rolling that notification out gradually. It will retroactively be sent to everyone who is already eligible, which it turns out is quite a lot of editors. So we're going to roll it out over the course of the month, slowly decreasing the threshold. Then, towards the end of September, we're going to keep improving My Library. The version that we have at the moment is a very bare bones version. You can do some language and tag filtering, you can browse through what's available, but we want to give you more powerful tools to filter the collections that you're seeing. So we're going to add a favoriting system where you can select the few collections that you use most often and get to those much quicker without having to browse through everything that you're not interested in to find them. We'll also be adding a few more filtering options, such as filtering only for proxy-based access if you don't want to have to deal with individual logins and access codes, and a free text filter so that you can search through the text descriptions for topics that aren't covered by our tag system. So for example, you might want to search for newspapers. So improvements to my library are helpful. They help you browse through all those publishers that are available to you, but that workflow still requires you to know sort of in advance which publishers are useful to you. Otherwise, if you're browsing for articles on a particular topic, you're going to have to click through each collection individually, do your search, see if they have any results, move on to the next one, and that's not a great experience. So, to help you have a more efficient and effective research process, we're bringing you a search tool. And I'm going to jump into a brief demo of how that will work now. So, first of all, you'll be able to access the cross-publisher search tool from any page on the library. It will always be in the header for you, so you can initiate a search at any time. You'll want to use the search bar to search for the topic that you're currently writing about. So, if I'm writing an article about my local city, I would put the city name into the search bar. The search results will then, by default, pull from all of the collections which are available to you by default. So those 20 or 30 collections that you see in my library when you first log in, that's what we're going to search. And the search tool will return item-level results from all of those collections, so you don't have to go through and click one by one to do your search, you can just search in one place. Now, we're only indexing those default available collections when you initially search. And that's so that you can have some confidence that any result you click is going to get you straight through to a result. Now, when we deploy this, there will be an option to remove that limitation so that you can search across all of the library's collections, even if you don't yet have access to them. But you might run into some paywalls and need to figure out which collection you need to apply for. We're going to try and smooth that process out so it's obvious to you where you need to apply. But unfortunately, we couldn't edit this interface in a way that would let you know in advance whether you can or can't access any given result. Now, if you've been using the library for a while, you'll know what a game changer this is. Clicking through each collection to do your individual searches was a pain. You needed to know in advance where you were going to find something you were interested in, so we really hope this will make things easier for you. In this interface, you also have a bunch of powerful filters and limits, so you can go through the list and constrain the date range of the publication you're looking for, the topics you're searching for, the languages of the results. This is really quite a feature-rich tool once you get to grips with it. So that's the Wikipedia library. If you haven't checked it out yet, head over and see what you think. We hope it's useful to you in editing Wikimedia projects. And if there's collections that you think should be in the library which aren't, add them to the suggestion pages, let us know, we can go and have a look at those. And we'd love to hear what you think about the new features we're rolling out at the moment. There's a page over on Meta where you can give us feedback, and if you run into any bugs or issues, you can go and file those on Fabricator. Please drop me a message if there's anything that I can help you with.